It was a quiet evening on the small human colony of Arcadia 7. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and purple. In a small, modest home at the edge of the village, Jonathan Miller was cooking dinner. The smell of roasted vegetables and bread filled the kitchen, giving the house a warm, cozy feeling. He hummed a tune while stirring the soup, enjoying the calmness after a long day of work in the colony's research fields. Suddenly, there was a soft knock at the door. Jonathan paused, wiping his hands on a towel. He frowned slightly. He rarely had visitors, especially this late in the evening. He walked over and opened the door, expecting perhaps a neighbor or a lost traveler. But standing there were three figures unlike anything he had ever seen. They were humanoid, but clearly alien. Their skin shimmered with soft pastel tones. One pale blue, one gentle lavender, and one light green. Their eyes were larger than human eyes, bright and sparkling, and their hair seemed to catch the fading light of the sunset in strange, beautiful ways. Each of them looked young, maybe in their late teens or early 20s, but there was an air of grace and intelligence about them. Jonathan took a careful step back. Hello? Can I help you?" he asked, unsure if he should call the authorities or simply send them away. The tallest one, the lavender-skinned girl, stepped forward and spoke softly in a musical voice. We are hungry. May we have food?" Jonathan blinked. The words were broken, but understandable. Hunger. Food. They seemed harmless. He noticed the small packs they carried. They looked worn and torn from long travel. Food? Sure. "Come in," he said, stepping aside. "But I should warn you, I'm not a restaurant, just dinner at home." The three sisters looked at each other and then nodded. Slowly, they entered the small home, their movements graceful and cautious. Jonathan led them to the kitchen table, setting plates and utensils with careful hands. As they sat, the youngest, the blue-skinned sister, whispered, "Thank you." Her voice was soft but carried a sense of relief. Jonathan served them hot soup and bread, watching nervously as they tried to use the utensils. The lavender sister struggled slightly, using her long fingers awkwardly, and Jonathan laughed gently. "Here, let me show you," he said, demonstrating. The sisters watched carefully, then mimicked him. For the first time, a faint smile appeared on Jonathan's face. Despite their strange appearance, they were polite, curious, and almost human in behavior. They began to talk slowly, using a mix of words and gestures. Jonathan learned that they had been traveling across several systems, searching for a safe place to rest. They spoke of storms in space, damaged ships, and lost communications with their family. Each sister shared bits of her story, and Jonathan listened, fascinated. The middle sister, the green-skinned one, tilted her head. You help," she said, her voice calm and sincere. Jonathan felt a warm feeling in his chest. "Well, anyone would help if they were hungry and alone," he replied. "You don't have to worry here. You can stay for dinner, and tonight if you need." They exchanged quiet glances, then the tallest nodded. "Thank you," she said. The words seemed small for the gratitude in their eyes. During dinner, Jonathan noticed the sisters were fascinated by everything: heating systems, cups, the way soup steamed in bowls. The youngest gasped softly when a candle flickered. "Fire. Small sun," she whispered, smiling. The lavender sister tried to mimic pouring the soup, but it spilled slightly, causing all three to laugh softly. Jonathan laughed too. "It's okay. Don't worry about making mistakes. You're safe here." After finishing their meal, Jonathan offered them blankets and a small room where they could sleep. "You can stay tonight. I have extra beds," he said. The sisters looked at each other, then nodded. "Stay safe," the green-skinned sister said quietly, almost as if promising something. That night, Jonathan lay awake in his bed, thinking about the strange turn of events. He had never imagined that three alien sisters would appear at his door, asking for nothing more than food and shelter. The house felt alive, filled with a quiet energy that was both strange and comforting. Outside, the stars sparkled in the sky, and somewhere far away, the sisters' home planet glimmered in the distance. Jonathan wondered what had brought them here, and if helping them would change his life forever. The next morning he woke to soft footsteps and quiet voices. The sisters were awake, exploring the house with cautious excitement. The youngest was carefully examining the plants by the window, while the tallest was peeking out at the village beyond. The middle one tried to help in the kitchen, arranging plates neatly. Jonathan smiled, feeling a mix of amusement and curiosity. "Good morning," he said cheerfully. "Did you sleep well?" The lavender sister tilted her head. "Sleep, yes. Food, good," she said. "Thank you." For a moment, Jonathan realized something important. These three strangers, who had come looking for a simple meal, were not just lost travelers. They were beginning to belong here, in this small home, in this quiet life. He did not know what the future would bring, but for the first time he felt a spark of excitement. Something extraordinary was happening at his door, something that would change everything he thought he knew about life, family, and the universe. And as the youngest sister lingered by the kitchen table, looking at him with curious eyes, Jonathan had a feeling that their visit was only the beginning of a story far larger than he could imagine. The sun rose higher in the sky, casting warm light into the house as three alien sisters began their first day in a human world. And one human man began the first day of a life he had never expected. The morning sun spilled golden light across Jonathan's small home. The alien sisters had already begun exploring. The youngest, Lyra, hovered near the kitchen window, watching birds hop in the garden. The lavender-skinned sister, Celine, examined the shelves, her long fingers brushing lightly over books and utensils. The green-skinned sister, Mira, was attempting to help Jonathan with breakfast, carefully arranging plates and bowls. Jonathan smiled, feeling a strange mix of wonder and amusement. "Good morning again. Did everyone sleep well?" he asked, setting down a basket of fresh bread. "Yes. Sleep good," Selena replied, her voice calm yet melodic. "Thank you." Lyra tilted her head. "Food. New tastes," she said softly, glancing at the eggs sizzling on the stove. Her wide eyes sparkled with curiosity. Jonathan chuckled. "Well, let's see if you like them," he said, serving the food carefully. "You're going to have to try some human breakfast dishes today." The sisters tasted carefully, exchanging quiet comments in their musical broken language. Lyra's eyes widened at the scrambled eggs while Mira studied the bread, slowly learning how to spread butter. Selene sipped juice, nodding in approval. Jonathan watched with a warm feeling in his chest. It was strange to feel such connection to beings so different from himself. After breakfast, Jonathan suggested a walk through the nearby village. The sisters hesitated at first, unsure of the humans around them, but Jonathan's gentle encouragement helped. As they stepped outside, villagers gave curious glances. Some whispered, while others simply stared. The sisters noticed immediately and instinctively held slightly closer to Jonathan, their trust in him growing. "Do humans all same?" Lyra asked softly, looking up at him. Jonathan thought for a moment. "No, but most try to be kind, like me," he said with a smile. "Don't worry, you're safe here." During the walk, they discovered small joys in human life. Lyra was fascinated by flowers, sniffing each one carefully. Mira pointed at a small fountain, her eyes reflecting delight as the water sparkled in the sunlight. Celine noticed children playing and paused to observe, a small smile forming on her face. Jonathan explained the village customs, simple things like greetings, sharing food, and helping neighbors. The sisters were quick learners, trying to imitate gestures and even laughing softly when they failed. Lyra stumbled slightly while trying to wave to a neighbor, and Mira giggled at her attempt. Jonathan laughed with them, feeling a warmth he had never known before. Back at home, the sisters began helping in small ways. Lyra watered the plants in the garden. though she occasionally overdid it, leaving small puddles that Jonathan had to mop up. Mira cleaned the kitchen with surprising efficiency, her alien abilities making the work faster than Jonathan had expected. Celine began organizing his small library, sorting books with meticulous care. Each of them contributed in their own unique way, and the house began to feel alive, filled with laughter and gentle energy. One afternoon, a minor conflict arose. A villager, curious and suspicious, approached Jonathan's house. "Who are your guests?" the man asked, frowning. "I've never seen them before." Jonathan felt a small tension rise. "They are travelers," he replied calmly. "Just resting here for a short time, they mean no harm." The villager frowned but seemed to accept the answer, though he muttered under his breath as he walked away. The sisters had been watching quietly and seemed tense. Lyra whispered to Jonathan, "Humans. Strange. Some fear difference." Jonathan nodded, kneeling slightly to meet her eyes. "Yes, some are afraid of what they don't understand, but most humans are kind. You have to trust that." The sisters seemed to relax again, comforted by his reassurance. They continued helping around the house, learning more about human life each day. Celine learned to cook a few simple dishes, though her methods were. Days passed and life in Jonathan's small home became a lively routine. The three alien sisters, Lyra, Celine, and Mira, were now comfortable, helping with chores, learning about human life, and sharing their own skills. But beneath the laughter, and calm, subtle changes began to stir in Jonathan's heart. He noticed how Celine watched him with quiet interest while he worked in the garden. Her lavender eyes often followed his movements, as if she wanted to understand everything about him. Lyra was playful and curious, always asking questions and exploring small corners of the house. Mira, organized and calm, often gave advice to Celine and Lyra, like a gentle guardian. Jonathan felt warmth for each of them, but the connection he felt with Celine was deeper, almost like a thread pulling his heart toward hers. One morning, Jonathan was teaching Lyra and Mira how to bake bread. The kitchen was filled with flour dust and laughter as Lyra accidentally knocked over a cup of water. Mira giggled, and Celine, who had been quietly observing, shook her head but smiled. "You? Careful," Celine said softly, her voice gentle. "Not waste." Jonathan laughed, shaking his head. "It's okay. Mistakes happen. You'll learn." As they worked, a sudden knock at the door startled them. Jonathan wiped his hands and went to answer it, wondering if it was a neighbor. Outside stood a small group of humans from the village, whispering and looking curious. They had heard rumors about the strange guests in Jonathan's home and wanted to see for themselves. Jonathan took a deep breath. "Good morning," he said calmly. "They are my friends. They mean no harm. Please, be polite." The villagers hesitated but entered. The sisters stayed behind Jonathan, unsure how humans would react. Lyra held Jonathan's hand briefly, seeking reassurance. Celine's eyes narrowed slightly, cautious but calm. Mira stayed close, watching every movement. The villagers asked many questions about where the sisters came from, why they were here, and what kind of people they were. Jonathan answered patiently, showing that the sisters were friendly and needed help. The villagers seemed skeptical, but eventually left, muttering quietly. Afterward, Celine sighed softly. "Humans sometimes fear difference," she said, her eyes showing a mixture of sadness and understanding. Jonathan nodded. "Yes, some do, but not everyone. I trust the good in people, and you should too. You're safe here." The sisters relaxed again, and life continued. But now Jonathan noticed new feelings growing inside him. He admired Celine's calm intelligence, her curiosity about humans, and the way she sometimes tried to imitate his small habits. He realized he cared for her deeply, though he did not yet know how to express it. One afternoon, while walking near the river, Jonathan saw Celine watching him as he skipped stones across the water. Her eyes followed the ripples, her expression thoughtful. He stopped and turned toward her. "Celine, are you happy here?" he asked softly. She tilted her head. "Yes, safe, learn life." Her voice was simple yet full of meaning. Jonathan smiled, feeling his heart warm. "I'm glad. I want you to feel at home. Not just here, but with me." Celine's lips curved into a small smile, and she nodded. Jonathan felt a shiver of joy. He wanted to reach out, to take her hand, but something held him back, a quiet fear that their worlds were too different. Meanwhile, Lyra and Mira noticed the subtle bond forming. Lyra teased Celine gently, nudging her when she seemed too serious, while Mira gave small approving nods encouraging her sister. Jonathan realized that even the younger sisters were supporting this growing connection. Later, the peace of the afternoon was broken by a distant hum in the sky. Jonathan looked up and saw a small spacecraft descending toward the village. The sisters stiffened, their eyes wide with fear. "They... come," Celine whispered. Jonathan frowned. "Who? What do you mean?" "They... hunters," Mira explained, quietly. "From... home." Jonathan felt a surge of protective instinct. He had no idea why these hunters were here, but he knew one thing. He would not let the sisters be taken or harmed. He quickly led them inside and closed the doors, trying to stay calm. The sisters hid in corners of the house, their expressions tense. Lyra's small hands gripped Jonathan's arm tightly, while Celine crouched near a window, her eyes sharp, scanning for movement. Mira whispered instructions to stay quiet, showing an unexpected strength. Jonathan peeked outside and saw the small group of alien hunters searching the area. They were humanoid but harsh in appearance, armed and alert. Jonathan realized that this threat was serious, but he remained determined to protect the sisters. He led them through a hidden back path he had discovered while exploring near the edge of the village, guiding them to a safe, hidden area among the trees. Hours passed. The hunters eventually left, unable to find the sisters. Jonathan sighed in relief, feeling a mix of exhaustion and triumph. The sisters were safe, and for the first time they fully trusted him, not just as a friend but as a protector. That night, after returning to the house, Celine approached Jonathan quietly. "You save us," she said, her voice soft. "I trust you." Jonathan's heart swelled. "I'll always protect you, no matter what." Celine's eyes shone with gratitude. For the first time, Jonathan felt that his feelings for her could be more than friendship. The bond between them had grown stronger through laughter, shared moments, and now danger. He realized that love was quietly growing, delicate but undeniable. As he lay in bed that night, Jonathan thought about the unexpected turns his life had taken. 3 alien sisters had entered his life, bringing chaos, laughter, and now deeper emotions. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing. His life would never be ordinary again. Outside, the stars twinkled quietly, and the sisters' home planet waited somewhere across the galaxy. But for now, here on Arcadia 7, Jonathan and the sisters had built a bond stronger than fear, stranger than coincidence, and brighter than any star. Days turned into weeks, and Jonathan's home grew warmer, livelier, and filled with laughter. The 3 alien sisters, Lyra, Celine, and Mira, had adjusted to human life in ways even Jonathan hadn't expected. Each day brought new lessons, small adventures, and quiet moments of bonding. Jonathan noticed subtle changes in Celine. She spent more time with him, helping in the garden or preparing meals. Her lavender eyes often lingered on him, and she sometimes mirrored his movements, tilting her head or laughing at small human quirks. Jonathan felt a flutter in his chest whenever she smiled at him, but he also knew their worlds were very different, and he hesitated to voice his deeper feelings. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in soft shades of pink, Jonathan suggested a walk outside the village. The sisters followed willingly, their curiosity and playfulness lighting up the path. Lyra pointed at flowers she had never seen before. Mira admired the shape of clouds, and Selene observed Jonathan as he skipped stones across a small stream. "Jonathan, you teach humans strange ways," Selene said softly, her tone thoughtful. Jonathan smiled. "I'm just showing you the little things that make life good here," he replied. "Sometimes small things bring big happiness." Selene looked at him, her expression serious for a moment. "Happiness, I want to stay," she said quietly. Jonathan stopped, surprised. "Stay? Here? You mean forever?" Selene nodded. "Yes, and home, here." Her voice was calm but firm, carrying a mixture of hope and courage. Lyra and Mira exchanged glances, smiling softly. "We stay too," Lyra said, her voice playful but sincere. "Home, here, happy." Mira added, "Yes, we help protect it together." Her words, though simple, carried a sense of loyalty and love for the home they had found with Jonathan. Jonathan felt a surge of emotion. 3 alien sisters, strangers from far away, had chosen this small human village, this small house, and him. They were not just guests anymore, they were family in the making. Back at home, they sat around the kitchen table. Jonathan poured tea for everyone, his hands slightly trembling with a mix of nerves and excitement. "If you stay, we will have to plan everything," he said. "You'll live as part of this village, learn more, and maybe even teach humans about your world too." The sisters listened carefully. Selene's eyes sparkled as she imagined a future where she could learn and teach, laugh and grow. Lyra clapped her hands softly, excited by the idea of long days filled with new discoveries. Mira nodded calmly, already thinking of ways to improve the home and keep everyone safe. Days passed, and Jonathan helped the sisters adjust to life in the village. They learned to interact politely with neighbors, shop at the small markets, and enjoy local festivals. At first, the villagers were cautious, but over time, they began to appreciate the sisters' kindness, intelligence, and curiosity. Jonathan and Selene spent long evenings together sharing stories of their pasts. She told him about her planet, cities of crystal towers, glowing forests, and skies filled with floating lights. Jonathan shared tales of his childhood, his work in the colony, and the simple joys of human life. With each story, their bond deepened, bridging the gap between 2 worlds. One day, while fixing a broken fence in the garden, Jonathan noticed Selene watching him closely. "You, careful, teach, patience," she said softly, her voice gentle. Jonathan laughed. "Yes, patience is important, not just for fixing things, but for life too." Selene nodded. "I learn patience with you." Her words, simple, yet full of meaning, struck Jonathan's heart. He realized that the connection he felt was more than friendship. It was love, quiet and steady, growing. Months passed, and life in Jonathan's home had become full of laughter, warmth, and constant activity. The alien sisters, Lyra, Selene, and Mira, had fully settled into human life. Their small house now looked lively, filled with the mixture of human and alien touches, glowing plants from Selene's home world, small alien art pieces Lyra had created, and practical inventions Mira had made to improve daily life. Jonathan and Selene had grown especially close. Their friendship had blossomed into a quiet, deep love. They shared long walks through the village, spent evenings teaching each other simple skills from their own worlds, and laughed over minor accidents in the kitchen or garden. One morning, while Lyra and Mira were helping with chores, Selene took Jonathan's hand and spoke softly. "Jonathan, happy. Life. Here. With you." Jonathan's heart swelled. "I feel the same, Selene. I never imagined this, but I'm glad. Very glad." Selene's smile was gentle, warm, and full of emotion. In that moment, Jonathan realized how much she had become a part of his life, and he could not imagine life without her. Time went on, and the couple's bond grew stronger. One day, Celine shared unexpected news. She was expecting alien children. Jonathan's first reaction was surprise, quickly followed by a surge of joy. He took her hands in his, smiling broadly. "We're going to have a family," he said, voice full of wonder. Lyra jumped up, clapping her hands. "Children, so fun," she exclaimed. Mira nodded, her calm smile radiating approval. "Yes, help, guide, care," she said. The news brought the sisters even closer. Lyra and Mira helped prepare the house for the new arrivals, building small sleeping areas and learning how to care for alien infants. Jonathan, though nervous at first, listened carefully and learned from them, understanding that this family would be a unique blend of human and alien life. Daily life became a mixture of simple chores, laughter, and preparation for the new family members. Lyra painted small decorations and played music, creating a cheerful environment. Mira taught Jonathan about alien care practices, explaining subtle differences in physiology and behavior. Celine, glowing with happiness, guided Jonathan through the process of understanding her needs and the children they would soon have. One afternoon, while tending the garden, Jonathan laughed as Lyra tried to mimic him planting seeds. She dug enthusiastically but scattered soil everywhere, and Jonathan could not help but chuckle. Celine giggled softly, helping Lyra clean up the mess. Mira supervised quietly, making sure nothing went wrong. The house was filled with joy, teamwork, and gentle teasing, creating an atmosphere of love and care. As the months passed, Celine's pregnancy progressed smoothly. Jonathan became increasingly protective, ensuring she rested, ate well, and felt safe. He also began teaching the sisters about human games, stories, and traditions, while learning about their alien customs in return. It was a harmonious exchange, a blending of worlds that enriched each of their lives. When the first children were born, the house was filled with wonder and laughter. Lyra held the first child carefully, marveling at the small fingers and glowing eyes. Mira helped Jonathan learn how to care for the infants, demonstrating gentle techniques to feed and soothe them. Celine, exhausted but radiant, smiled at her small family. Jonathan felt a sense of awe he had never experienced before. The three sisters who had arrived at his door months ago, lost and hungry, were now part of a growing, vibrant family. Their home was filled with joy, learning, and a sense of purpose he had never known. Days were busy, filled with feeding, cleaning, and laughter. Lyra sang to the children, her melodic voice soothing them. Mira taught them basic skills and helped set routines, ensuring the household ran smoothly. Celine and Jonathan spent time teaching their children both human and alien ways, blending cultures in a way that brought harmony and understanding. One quiet evening, after putting the children to sleep, Jonathan and Celine sat outside watching the stars. "I never imagined this," Jonathan said softly, holding Celine's hand. "Three sisters at my door, and now a family of our own." Celine rested her head on his shoulder. "Life, strange but wonderful. Love, grow, strong," she said, her voice calm but full of meaning. Jonathan smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. "Yes, stronger than anything I could have imagined." The sisters, Lyra and Mira, joined them shortly after, carrying small cups of warm tea. "Family, together, happy," Lyra said, smiling brightly. Mira nodded. "Yes, protect, teach, enjoy," she added quietly. Jonathan looked at the three sisters and realized that their journey together had created something extraordinary. From strangers asking for food, they had grown into a family united by kindness, trust, and love. Each day brought new lessons, challenges, and laughter, but also a sense of harmony that filled the house and hearts of everyone living there. As the children grew, they learned both human and alien ways, games, stories, and lessons from both worlds. Lyra and Mira were patient teachers, guiding the little ones with care. Celine and Jonathan shared quiet moments of joy, marveling at how these children embodied the love and connection of two very different worlds. One night, as the family Gathered around a small meal, Jonathan reflected on the journey that had brought them here. 3 alien sisters had arrived at his door months ago, asking for nothing more than food. Now they had created a life together, filled with laughter, learning, and hope. They had built a home where love crossed the boundaries of planets, species, and worlds. Jonathan smiled at Celine, then at Lyra and Mira, and finally at the children. His heart was full. Life had changed forever, and it was more beautiful than he could have ever imagined. In a small house on Arcadia 7, laughter echoed. Stories were shared, and a family, human and alien, thrived together. Jonathan realized that kindness, trust, and love could create miracles, bringing strangers together to form something extraordinary. And as the stars shone quietly above, the family's bonds grew stronger with every passing day. A living example of how worlds could unite, hearts could connect, and life could be filled with joy beyond imagination. Life had settled into a rhythm in Jonathan's home. The house was alive with the laughter of children, the soft voices of Lyra, Celine, and Mira, and the gentle hum of daily activity. The small village on Arcadia 7 had grown accustomed to the alien sisters, accepting their presence with curiosity, and over time, admiration. Jonathan watched from the porch as Celine guided the children through a game, showing them how to balance small stones while teaching patience. Lyra cheered each child on, clapping her hands and encouraging their efforts, while Mira quietly supervised, making sure no one stumbled or fell. Jonathan felt a deep sense of pride. The 3 sisters had become more than friends. They were family, and now that family had grown to include children who were a perfect mix of human and alien traits. Their small hands, sparkling eyes, and boundless curiosity were reminders of how far they had come together. One afternoon, an unexpected visitor arrived. A small spacecraft landed quietly near the edge of the village. Jonathan's heart skipped a beat as a figure stepped out, a representative from the sisters' homeworld. The visitor was humanoid, but carried an air of authority, his expression unreadable. Celine stepped forward calmly. "We stay happy here," she said, her voice steady. The visitor's eyes narrowed. "You leave your home, your duties, and settle here among humans?" he asked. "This is not proper." Jonathan stepped beside Celine, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. "They are happy here," he said firmly. "This is their choice. They are free to live as they wish, and I will protect them." Lyra and Mira stood close, ready to support their sister. The visitor's expression softened slightly, but he shook his head. "I do not approve, but it is clear they will not leave." Celine nodded. "Yes, choose life, family, here." After a long pause, the visitor finally bowed slightly. "Very well. Your choice is noted. But remember your home world, and honor it in your hearts," he said, before stepping back into the spacecraft. The engines hummed and the ship disappeared into the sky. Jonathan exhaled slowly, relief flooding through him. "It's over," he said, smiling at the sisters. "You're safe. Your home is here now." Celine smiled, her lavender eyes shining. "Yes, safe. Together. Happy." Life returned to its quiet joy. The family spent the following days teaching and learning together. Jonathan and Celine shared responsibilities and moments of affection, while Lyra and Mira continued to help guide the children. The household thrived, a perfect blend of human and alien culture. The children grew quickly, their laughter echoing through the house and garden. Lyra introduced them to alien games and songs, while Mira taught practical skills and calm thinking. Celine and Jonathan taught them human customs, stories, and traditions. The combination created a rich environment, full of curiosity, learning, and love. One evening, Jonathan sat with Celine on the porch, watching the children play in the soft glow of the setting sun. "I never imagined this," he said softly. "3 sisters at my door, and now, this family, our home, it's full of life." Celine leaned her head on his shoulder. "Life Strange. Wonderful. Love. Grow. Strong. Jonathan smiled, feeling the truth in her words. From strangers asking for food, the sisters had become a family, and he had become part of a world far larger than he had ever imagined. The lessons they had shared, the laughter they had created, and the love that had grown.